Welcome back to Plague Scythe Studios, everyone, and welcome back to Heavy Reflection. Today we're going to be talking about the merits of boutique as well as budget gear, why the two can happily coexist, why you should probably be buying something in between, and how to optimize your guitar rig given a limited amount of cash. The inspiration for this episode stems from what feels like a lifetime at this point of surfing on the internet and seeing both elitist and I guess what you could call anti-elitist comments regarding anything, but especially guitar gear. You see it with computers, you see it with cars, anything where people have some money to spend on something they're passionate about, you're going to see basically these polarizing views, and with 90% of people being somewhere in between, but generally they are the silent majority. What you're often going to hear is people saying, well, what's the point of spending $250 on a clean boost pedal just because it's someone's signature? And why should you spend several $1,000s on a guitar amplifier when you can just spend, less than 50 bucks on a used distortion pedal and plug it in front of my practice amp because it sounds just fine? I don't understand why anyone would want to spend more money than that. Or how could they? And then you have the other people who are buying gear like this. They're saying, how could anyone think that this crap sounds worth a damn? Why do people waste their money on this stuff? Why not just save a little bit more and get something that's actually usable? So a large portion of today's episode is geared towards a very small minority of people, and I understand that. There's, 99% of guitar players, enthusiasts about whatever they like, understand that we can live in a nice little marketplace where we have a bunch of options ranging from prohibitively expensive for some people to lavishly cheap for others. That's okay. Just because you have one product that doesn't necessarily fit what you need, fit your use case or the sound you're looking for or your budget, doesn't make the other one useless. So I see these more elitist point of views manifesting in a couple different ways. So the first is just downright everything that isn't this tier of gear or this tier of performance is just not worth your time and complete trash. I feel like there's a large portion of that audience that just forgets where they came from. I imagine a large portion of this audience, like myself, grew up playing on sub $300 guitars, sub $100 amplifiers in some cases, maybe a cheap distortion pedal if you're going for a heavy metal effect. But they learned their instruments on these things that are not considered very high quality gear. It's not something that you would be putting in a studio and recording on. That doesn't make it bad products. That doesn't make it useless. It just means that it's not right for what you're trying to do. Most people are going to be using their gear as an education tool, as just trying to get in the ballpark range of some of their favorite artists, and that's really all most people need. A lot of people are not going to go outside the confines of their bedroom when they're playing this sort of stuff, so it doesn't make sense to be spending a small fortune getting every little effect right when you're just, practicing an hour a day or so just because you like it. And if that gets you by, if an inexpensive solid state Roland Cube practice amp is all you need to achieve what you want, to get the sound you want, to get the capability to play in your bedroom and have a good time doing it, great. Awesome. There's no problem with that. That is even better because that means there's a lower price point. There's more products available for more people to enjoy this art form. Not everyone's going to be able to enjoy this craft on the same technical or even listening level. So it's okay to have different subsets of gear that appeal to different people. You get more gear, you get more people involved, you get an even greater selection of gear for you to enjoy. That's a good thing. That can only be a good thing. That means you get a greater variety of not only tools to assist you in your creativity, but oftentimes it brings a lot of those high-end products closer to the mainstream. It costs less and less every year to get a good sound, as has been proven with amp modeling technology. And that's not stopping these guys who are interested in single handmade boutique pedals or hand-wired amplifiers or handcrafted guitars from buying their stuff. Fortunately, in recent years, I've not seen quite as many condescending comments that would pertain to why even bother with all this low-end junk type stuff, and that's good. It still does happen time to time. I think there's some people that take it a little too far, but what I see constantly still, and I see it just as much in the computer PC building scene, is the just a little bit more syndrome. So let's use the computer example again for a moment here. So I'll see a lot of times on forums, someone will post something along the lines of, hey, I want to get into PC gaming. I never have before. I have a strict budget of $600. Please throw together for me the best build that I can buy for that money. What inevitably happens on about every thread is someone will say, okay, well, here's a build for $600, but if you just save up another $100, just $100, you know, that's all it is. You're already spending $600, so what's another $100? If you just save $100 more, you can upgrade to this tier of graphics card, and that'll make your performance, you know, 25% better. It's all, you know, it's all good. Cool. And then the next person will reply, well, if you're going to spend that much money, might as well throw in another, you know, $50 for a solid state drive. Why not? Using this logic, you can turn a $600 computer build into a $10,000 build fairly quickly. And I see the same thing happening in the guitar world as well, where people will be like, hey, can I get a tube amp and a cabinet for under $700? And I prefer to have these features, name the best one. People will be like, well, you know, just spend a little bit more here. Or why do that? Spend $1,000 on this amp modeler. Or if you're gonna go the amp modeler route, might as well just spend just a little bit more to get the best. Now, I don't take fault with this logic to a certain extent. There's certainly a sweet spot in value. You know, if you're going to be spending $600 on an amplifier, a lot of the times you can bump up the cash just a little bit more and get quite a bit more features out of it. But there is a certain point where you have to say, no, this is my budget, this is what I know I have to work with, and that's it. And don't take it any further, because if you keep playing this waiting game, and that's really all you're doing, whether it be waiting for a new product release or waiting to have more cash saved, you'll never have anything to enjoy. I see it all the time in the PC community. You know, well, we've got this processor that's out this year, but if I wait 6 more months, there'll be another one that costs about the same amount of money and it'll have 10% more performance. Well, by the time that comes out, you can use the same logic over and over and over, because that's just the way technology works. It's a little bit more subjective in the world of tone, but you still have your complex feature sets, you still have your price points. It ultimately works the same way. So you have to be the judge of what you want to spend and the type of features you're willing to sacrifice if you are working on a limited budget, which I'd imagine pretty much everyone watching this channel is in some way. Now, there are a subset of more value-oriented players like myself and probably you that don't quite understand why someone would ever spend more money than they do on guitar equipment. Why would someone spend more money on a single pedal that does something so simple than, you know, I would ever spend on an amplifier? Or why would someone buy the higher name brand guitar when you slap the same pickups in the off brand or the lower brand, like an Epiphone versus a Gibson, and 99% of people couldn't tell the difference either playing or listening to it? And that's when it comes down to, it's not all about money for everyone. I'm a very value-oriented person. I don't necessarily care about how much something costs if I'm getting the best return for it. I'm always concerned with value per dollar. A lot of my stuff is very much oriented towards that. I'll buy some stupid stuff every now and then, like this, which is not a good value per dollar, but this is a collector's item in a way to me. I do have some practical use for it, and it's just freaking cool because it's a Friedrich Thorndahl signature Fortin made pedal. Love it. But there's so many other things that I'm concerned with getting the most features for my money. The AX8 is basically an infinite number of guitar rigs minus a couple caveats versus its bigger brother, the Axe FX, in one box. And that's kind of hard to beat for $1,300 considering that it is cheaper than most amp heads. So I get it, I'm a very value-oriented person. But there are people out there who are privileged enough to just be able to afford wherever they want. And whether they're making sacrifices elsewhere, who knows? But they will buy the best of the best, at least what they think it is that suits their purpose the best, and that's okay. Some of it does boil down to jealousy, but I honestly think a lot of it is just, I think they're idiots, why would you ever do that? You know, who cares? I think ultimately at the end of the day is who cares? As long as everyone has something that is reasonably attainable, as long as there is something for everyone out there, I don't think it's a bad thing to have this large variety in the marketplace. And I think a lot of people get that. I think a lot of people get it more now than ever, but I cannot tell you the amount of people that I grew up with that just, they couldn't get it through their head that, you know, oh, it's so stupid, there's all these different tiers of guitars, tiers of products. Why don't we just cut the cost and make one single one, and if you can't afford it, too bad. You know, it's like, don't you want more people in this craft? Don't you want more people to enjoy the same thing you do? Because it ultimately benefits it. The more people that are enjoying things, the more of a market there's going to be, and there's going to be a larger variety in that market. Tell me how that's a bad thing. So I think the point of this video can really be summed up with, don't worry about what your gear costs. If it works for you, awesome. I think for a vast majority of people, their ultimate value proposition is going to fall somewhere between the ultra budget and the ultra high end. You're going to get the most features for your dollar that work for you, that fill your needs, somewhere around there. And it's okay that people can enjoy the low end stuff just because you don't like it, or that people can enjoy the high end stuff just because you can't afford it. And all this stuff I'm talking about is, again, not exclusive to music whatsoever. I think it gets a little bit more passion surrounding it because it is a creative process, you know, compared to something like car nerds or even computers like we were talking about earlier. There's more desire to get this ultimate vision achieved with all these effects and instruments, whereas this is just kind of hey, look how fast this thing runs. So again, don't worry about what others are playing. Worry about what sounds good for you. Do your research and you know, pick something and be happy with it. Sell it if you hate it. But most of the time, if you just do a little bit of legwork, you'll find something that works for you in a reasonable price range. We're fortunate enough to be living in a time now where we have that option. Earlier, Heavy Reflection, I talked about if you wanted the sounds that I'm showing off in a lot of the videos I've been doing recently, you would have had to spend several $1,000s. Not the case anymore. So be happy with what you have. Be happy with having both. I really enjoy still diving into the more value-oriented market and seeing what kind of progress has been made since I started playing guitar. There's some great stuff out there that I would have killed for when I was first learning to play. And you know, I still love diving into what might have been with ultra high-end gear, but it's cool. They can both exist in the same ecosystem. So no need to get your panties in a wad just because you don't like one or the other. It's for everyone to enjoy in one way or another. So I'll do it for today's Heavy Reflection. I'm really interested in seeing the comment section on this one, thinking it might stir the pot a little bit, might get some people riled up, but be sure to let me know what you think, and we will see you next time with more controversial stuff like this. So thanks for watching. Bye.